Hello, my friends, and this article has been submitted through Facebook by Sheena, and it's from the New York Times. Now, you're probably wondering why is it so important? Well, I'm just going to read it out for you. Girls keep out. Female video gamers face vile abuse, threats, and this was this happened yesterday. So I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna share my thoughts about it because this is pretty much harassment in the worst way. This New York. Nico Dale, a 33-year-old e-commerce specialist from Milwaukee, used to enjoy mixing it up with players from around the world in the popular online fantasy game World of Warcraft. Then a stalker began harassing her on the game forums, impersonating her in the game, and later sending her barrages of Twitter messages, some threatening her with graphic rape and murder. While the stalker didn't drive her from the game, the experience helped sour her multiplayer gaming. There's a lot of things about the community that are very hostile, she says of Warcraft. Deo largely gave up the game almost 2 years and now mostly spends her time playing other games by herself. Deo is far from alone. In the male-dominated world of multiplayer online games like Grand Theft Auto, Halo, and Call of Duty, many women say they had to take drastic steps to escape harassment, stalking, and violent threats from male players. Some quit particular games, others change their screen names or make sure. Others, excuse me. Some quit particular games, others change their screen names or make sure they play only with friends. Online harassment of women, often involving threats of horrific violence, has become a big issue, and video games are a frequent flashpoint. 2 years ago, the online Gamergate movement, ostensibly a protest over the ethics of game journalists, also fueled Twitter attacks on female critics replete with gutter-level abuse and assault threats. Some targets left their homes or canceled speaking engagements fearing for their safety. On Saturday, the South by Southwest Interactive Festival plans a day-long summit on online harassment. One panel will address problems in gaming and geek culture. That summit, however, almost never happened. Last October, the festival canceled 2 gaming issue panels after receiving numerous threats of on-site violence. Organizers reversed themselves a few days later after BuzzFeed and Vox Media threatened to boycott the festival entirely. Online gaming companies, however, have been slower to act. Major console makers, Microsoft and Sony, and game developers like Blizzard Entertainment have terms of service that explicitly ban stalking and other harassing behavior. The companies have the right to ban reported bad actors from their public forums. Players say that rarely happens, and when it does, as in Dale's case, their harassers often follow them onto Twitter and other social channels. Becky Heineman, the 52-year-old founder of the Old School game studio in Seattle, was an aficionado of shoot-'em-ups like Halo and Call of Duty. But constant catcalls from other players and questions about a brawl size or quote unquote, whether I like it top or bottom or derogatory things she says, wore her down. Reporting her harassers never seemed to make a difference. She says she limited her play friends for a while, but now mostly focuses on simple single-player games like Cookie Clicker on her phone and computer. Excuse me. Excuse me. Still recovering from cold. Contrary to popular stereotypes, women are avid video gamers. One recent study showed that about half of all women play video games, about the same as men. But men are far more likely to identify themselves as gamers. And experts say that hardcore shooting and action games remain mostly male. It's only recently that women players have been recognized as valid gamers that are interesting for companies, said Yasmin Kafai, a University of Pennsylvania professor who focuses on gender and gaming. Microsoft says recent changes to its Xbox Live service may make it more likely that players with bad reputations will end up playing each other. It adds that its reinforcement team monitors complaints at all times and all reports are investigated. Sony, Blizzard, and the Entertainment Software Association, a trade group, did not respond for requests for comment. Those moves don't impress some women in the industry. While they have very good statements about harassments and, responsibility to the community and all, that kind of stuff, the enforcement side of it is pretty lax, says Kate Edwards, Executive Director of the International Game Developers Association. Players basically have to adopt their own strategies to deal with it. Games and online game networks, for instance, let players mute messages from opponents and turn off voice chat, where trash talk can easily shade over harassment. Xbox Live also labels players who get lots of complaints with a red marker so that other players can avoid them. But constantly muting and reporting other players interrupts what's supposed to be a fun pastime. It doesn't change harassing behavior. If I just block somebody, is that stopping them from doing the abuse? Says Kishona Gray, an Eastern Kentucky University professor who wrote a book about racist and sexist interactions within Xbox. They can go to the next person and do the same thing. That's especially true when harassment shays into the real world. Mercier Smith-Luper, a 27-year-old Boston woman, found it annoying when male players patronized her and told her how to play. And then she started receiving unwanted gifts, a necklace, a sword, in the mail. One gamer unexpectedly showed up at her workplace after calling her repeatedly. Fed up, she changed her gamer name and now sticks to playing privately with friends or alone. I'm kind of in hiding, she says. What would effective anti-harassment measures look like? Experts like Edwards and Gray point to Riot Games, the maker of League of Legends. For its efforts to change player culture, Riot built a system based on artificial intelligence and player feedback to determine appropriate behavior during gameplay, and uses it to punish or reward players who draw complaints, according to the company's online support documents. When players show signs of toxicity, Riot can block them from competitive play, limit their chats, or ban them entirely. The company shows players what behavior other players didn't like when it punishes them. Jeffrey Lynn, Riot's lead game designer for social systems, said that because of these efforts, only 2% of its global games experience racist, homophobic, sexist language, or excessive harassment. Riot Games declined to comment when contacted by the Associated Press. IGDA's Edwards acknowledges that dealing with harassment is a difficult challenge. You're dealing with minors versus adults, she says. You're dealing with free speech issues. It's a struggle for companies to figure out exactly how to approach it. And while Riot-style moderation might limit harassment, it's unlikely to solve the problem on its own. This is a social and cultural problem, not a technological one, says Dimitri Williams, CEO of game analytics firm Ninja Metrics. Okay, first off, let me just say that as a gamer, the real problem lies with calling yourself a girl gamer. Okay? I'm just gonna make it clear, I'm gonna make it plain. When you put gender into something that really never had to have gender to begin with, you have made it a problem. Because A, video games are for everyone. There's no such thing as male gamers or female gamers, guy gamers, girl gamers. We're all gamers. We play games. It doesn't matter if it's a board game, if it's a first-person shooter, if it's a platformer, or whatever else it may be. It's a game. You're playing a game. Therefore, you are a gamer. I find it a big issue because, oh hey, it's harassment. It's bullying. That's all it is. It's just bullying. And bullying has always been a problem since, since, I don't know. It's always been a problem. And even now, bullying has become a bigger problem. Because, for one, it has gone to the online world. And when you're online, technically, you can easily fall victim to being harassed. You can easily become a target of harassment. And let me just say, it's not just females. Males get it too. So it's not just one-sided. I can understand from this standpoint that yes, females take this kind of abuse because, oh hey, you're in a video game that's quote unquote predominantly male. Because mainly, it's. I'm gonna try to explain this the best way I can, but in this case, there's some females that don't like to play that don't really like to play what guys like. And then you have to think about it like this, because really, if you really think about it, it's all about personal preference. It's all about what you like. You don't have to really play this just because somebody else finds it, entertaining, or its or its popularity. But it's more like if you find your center. That's what it's really about. If you can actually find your center, then technically you will find, like, basically your niche. Like, take me for example. I at one point didn't like first-person shooters until I basically played Red Steel. I mean, I have it for the Nintendo Wii, so basically I started playing Red Steel for myself. I also play games like Dragon Quest Swords. I do need to clean this week. And the like. But, I never did like FPS. I never did like first-person shooters until I played those two games. Then my friends got me into Borderlands, and then I started getting into the habit of doing first-person shooters. Even Sheena, who constantly, or if not always constantly, I mean, what she used to do. She used to complain that I should, broaden my horizons. And I say, I don't mind broadening my horizons. I just don't want to feel pressured to do it just because, you know, you say I should broaden my horizons. So I become a little bit more open to doing games out of my comfort zone. When I do, I want to come back to my comfort zone. After a long day, it's like, okay, play an RPG. You know, like basically RPGs is like my bed. I like to just curl up, play an RPG, play it for a few minutes, and let it go, and then, relax and enjoy myself. But if you're probably wondering, I I don't like bowling. Never did like bowling because I used to be bullied. But there are some females that make themselves targets. And it's nobody's fault because they haven't done anything. They just instantly become targets. They instantly become targets because they are female. And like I said, you should never say, I'm a girl gamer. When you say, I'm a girl gamer, you make yourself into a target. Because to me, I'm just going to point out and say this. So, what? You're a gamer. All you do is play a game. And I can easily also say, and it's not because I'm male, if you have a group, play with the group. Play along with a group. A guild or something like that. It's basically common. It's just basically common just to say, okay, well, it's like being in an RPG. It's like being in an RPG. Your character, your character amasses a small band of adventurers, and one of your characters, and one of the characters that you picked up is in trouble. You basically fight the threat that exists within the character in question, and basically save the character, and backtrack, retreat, and basically do the one thing you have to do. Excuse me. You have to do, which is basically re-outfit this character to what it should be. What this character should have, I should say. I feel that video games is basically an enjoyment for every person. Whether you are a guy or girl, whether you are young or old or in between, I could say this, and I haven't been saying a lot of things, but really, I can also believe and say this, and it's very important. Stand up for yourself. You know, the only thing you can do about it is technically stand up for yourself. You don't really have to, back to article, please. You really don't have to take that kind of abuse, you know? It's like, well, you know how the internet is these days. If you go online, you are a target. Hell, I'm on YouTube, and there are some jackasses out there who would find me, in a word, not entertaining. Those are two words, but still. I might be boring. I might be uninterested. I might be dull. I might be so many things. Because I don't reach their standards. I don't reach their practices. And you know why I say that? Your loss. You don't see me. You don't see me lose sleep over every idiot that comes across my channel. They don't, and what I do isn't up to their level of entertainment. I believe in quality. I believe in fair standards. I believe that no one should feel ashamed for being a gamer. And to this one person that I'm speaking to, I know there are pretty much other people out there. And let me just say this. I've been saying it. I've been saying it a lot. I'm sorry. To all the females out there who may be listening to the sound of my voice, let me ask you this question. If you had to put up with all this kind of bullshit, would you give up gaming just for that kind of bullshit? Just for the abuse, the harassment, the cyberbullying, and these are from people you have never even heard of. Think about it. Is it worth just saying, fuck it, I'm done? I don't want to play anymore because these guys keep harassing me, and no one's here to take up my side. No one's here to defend me or anything like that. Would you basically just hang up your controller just because of that nonsense? Because as a gamer who also faces abuse, and I'm not a big MMO player. I'm really not. I take that kind of abuse on YouTube sometimes. Because I've been called things. I've been called fat. I've been called retarded. I've been called a nigga. I've been called everything under the roof. And it didn't have to be like, it really didn't have to be about video games. It could have been about anything. And there have been times I basically just said, blocked. Remove comment. Put on blacklist. That sort of thing. Put on notice, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying, I'm really, if this sounds like I'm everywhere on this, I kind of am. So if I sound like so fragmented, My apologies. But we as gamers, we had to drop everything. We had when we play a game, forget that you're forget your gender. Forget your gender. You know who you are. You are a gamer. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. Harassment is a problem. It's not just it's not just for office anymore. It's basically for something entirely different. And usually when that happens, you have to do something about it. You just cannot just say, "Oh, it's no big issue." Oh, it's an issue, all right. Cyberbullying is an issue. And I mean nobody should have to deal with what these people have actually had to deal with. It's a terrible thing that technically women have to deal with this kind of garbage because it's all about ego. That's what it really is. It's all about ego. Because when you're dealing with games like GTA, Halo, Call of Duty, it's basically all ego. It's all about stroking that ego, you know. And to that point, I can I really had to say, you got two choices. You can either sit around and take it, in which I really think you shouldn't, or you can just, wait till a different time to play a game. Yeah, sure, it might be different. You might get less than what you would if you were on, you know, traffic, during different traffic times. Like say right now it's 3 o'clock here. Online gaming traffic would be at its peak right about 3 to 6. 3 to 6 would be online game traffic time. And if I were on payday, I'm giving this as the best example as I can. Payday is probably the best example I can possibly get. There have been people on payday who basically asked the one question: Are we going loud or are we going soft? Are we going to stealth it or are we just going to go loud? And for me, I basically keep my armor on. So why you want to go heavy? That's because I'm thinking, okay, what if this does go sour? I have all these skills to make sure that I stay alive while every other person every other person might not have the same build as I do. I can only say it's only male dominated because you see more males than females on certain games. And as I said before, it's about the ego. Personally, You shouldn't have to give up your game just for that kind of bullshit. Really. You shouldn't have to give up playing something that you enjoy. And don't have and like I said, it don't have to be these type of games like GTA, Halo, Call of Duty. It could be something else. It could be L-Sword. It could be DFO. It could be Payday. It could be any other MMO game. It don't have to be. It don't have to be the popular ones. It could be the unpopular ones. The ones that people don't talk about that often. And usually when you have something like that, well, you don't get that much you don't get that much harassment, and you really don't. But I would say, as a gamer, you don't have to take that kind of crap. You don't. And if you're worried about anything like your pride or your integrity or anything like that, don't. Don't. Because you know you're worth more than that. Just being real here. You're more than just a name and a gender. You have more value to yourself than what you normally think of yourself. You just don't give yourself enough credit. Like, you know, you could try to build up a second and third skin. You could try that. See if that works for you. You can also go into hermit mode. You know, basically peek your head out a little bit at a time. I say if you want to play a safety factor, you can do that. Play with certain friends you know you're safe with. You're fine with. There's safety in numbers. Like we played 100% orange juice last night. We had a very fun time because, you know, we took turns, you know. One player goes out, another comes in. You know, it basically, you know, alternated spots. It was like playing roulette, you know. Like one goes out, one comes in, another goes out, another one comes in. But, you know, it's all good because, you know, we all just enjoyed it. But, as I said, video games are meant to be enjoyed. Whether it's, no matter what kind of game it is. If it's a multiplayer, that's what it is. It's multiplayer. It's for many players. And I feel that women are just as good as men, if not better. Because I believe that there are women out there who can play games just as good as men do. Perhaps better because mental capacity. That's one thing I'm just going to point out. Mental capacity is one thing that they have, that women have more than men do. And believe me, you know, in the Let's Play community, there are a lot of female Let's Players out there. And I mean, they do quality work. And, you know, they don't feel ashamed for being, you know, Let's Players. They don't feel ashamed for being gamers. It's just a small faction of those who say they are girl gamers. When you say you're a girl gamer, that's what, like I said, it comes back to that. When you put the label on, that's what makes you a target. As long as you do not label yourself, and as long as you know who you are, you yourself do not become a target. In retrospect, bullying is a problem. And because of a culture and the way the ego works, because with video games, ego is going to step in because of competition, the spirit of competition, the age-old I'm better than you because of ABC will pop its ugly little head and make even the best turn into their absolute worst. The one thing that I always say is you have to learn to rise above the influence. It's something I always do. Whether I'm playing by myself or with randoms. If my friends aren't around, I'll play with randoms. But you always have to rise above the influence. So ladies, that's what you have to do. You have to rise above the influence. You can't let a certain thing like you know, harassment stop you. If you have to pull out any kind of stops, do it. Just to save yourself, do it. If you feel safety numbers works for you, do that. If you feel you gotta make a complaint, do it. But, you know, you have to make sure the line of reality and fiction is noticed. You have to make sure that line is right there. You know the difference between what's real and what's not real. Video games are basically a getaway. And that's what it should be. It should be a getaway from reality. It should not force you back into reality. It should not make you scared or fear for your life. You should not have to fear for your life because you are part of fiction for that time. You should just like, okay, dart everything away from all the little gutter trash and whatnot. Just you're here on this game just to play for say 2 to 3 hours or so, and then when you're done, you know, you're back to reality. You know. But that's all I had to say about this. That's all I had to say about this issue. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tweet this like so. Therefore, you see what I just did. So, yes, this video is going to go up. And what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to copy this like so. Just so those who basically want to read this for themselves can do so. And please keep this running around. You know, we have to keep this running around. You know, because gamer abuse isn't going to stop unless we put this out in circulation. Because we're all gamers around here, and we all should have fair play and fair use. We should protect each other and not work against each other. So that's all I had to say about the subject matter. So with that, I've been the Tenkaichi of gaming and otaku, and I hope you have enjoyed this article that I just spoke my 5 cents about. So leave me a comment if you feel you are led to do so. Let me know what you think about it out there in the world of the internet. And I'll see you next time with more videos. So until then, take care. God bless. Be safe out there. Senpai's blessings upon you all, my people. And I'll see you next time. Until then. Tenkai Muso!